right, shalom, shalom, peace, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Aman. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, se me Kofi, ça va? Ni hao, namaste. Osaya, Nikitawiya, Ohio. I see you. Manut, Wagwan, Kamsa, Kamsamida, Aloha, Ciao, Habarigani, Aquaba, Madaasi, Itise, Jambo, Bibini Kofi, Nidafara Kukatan Wewe, Boker Tov, Boker Tav, Grand Rising, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Barakalat Shem Yechava, Anai Kwafai, Kwahela to Christ, Mashalam Chi. Hello, everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, of being the voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. We thank you for being on with us, and we're appreciative of it. We thank you for spending some time with us. We know that you could have been doing a great deal of things. You have a plethora of things on your agenda. So the fact that you have made us part of your day, we do not take that lightly. Whether you're joining us on the podcast, joining us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, or other platforms later, or watching us live, watching it later on, we appreciate love you. We always give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Amma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Thank you to all for being on once again. We are excited. We're going to go back to what we've been in this book, the United Independent Compensatory, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, or the United Independent Compensatory Code /System/Concept. And we'll be getting into that today. Praise Yah. So hopefully you guys have that, or you have the PDF by now, or if you want to look up Neely Fuller, if you're Googling it, you can look up Neely Fuller Jr., Neely, Neely Fuller Jr. PDF. And once you do that, you should be able to find it. Should pop up right away. And so we're thankful and grateful to have each and every one of you with us on this rising Shabbat Shalom once again. We're going to pretty much jump right into it. Today, everything is normally as is. After this, the podcast, after this, Shabbat school. And after we finish with that, we do have three different things actually after that. If you can join us, if you're able to join us for any of them. 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time, we're going to have a quick SOC community meeting. 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time, we're going to have a very quick 12 minutes of Christmas on the Zoom link that we've been sending out. So look for that, as much as you can everywhere. It should be posted in different places already. Easiest way to find it will just, literally look up the information on the Patreon. Even if you're a free member, we're making sure that that's something that's available to all. And then at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time, right after that, we're going to have another kind of meetup. We talked about lust last week. We're going to talk about we're kind of just going to field some questions on marriage. I'm going to kind of be as quick as I can be on answering the questions, but we're going to open it up for marriage, whether you're married or not. And it's something preparing us, because next year, starting the second Saturday of January, Elder Amma and myself will ensure that we are in front of you every second Saturday, having conversations about marriage. And then we'll even do something special to where those of you who want to go in depth on those things can even join us for a special Patreon piece that we're going to be opening up to everybody. So it'll be like that every second Saturday, and then the following Sunday evening, I'll make sure that I'm on to make sure that we talk to you all about, go further into any questions, comments, concerns that you guys may have on the teaching or the conversation that Elder Am and I have. Amen. So that's what's on the agenda for today. We praise Yahweh for each and every one of you and all the great things that you're doing in the presence of the Most High Yah. And we're thankful and grateful to each and every one of you one more again for being with us, participating with us, whatever the case might be. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to do our Bible pledge. If you have your Bible or your device, or you want to put your right hand in the air, feel free to do so. If you're able to stand and reverence Yahweh's word, feel free to do so as well. We love to make sure that we are doing specific things in a certain manner. We're going to start at page 20. If you're using the book, we're going to start at page 20. and we're going to go over these 9 areas, these 9 major areas of people activity in the known universe, according to this Bible that according to this book, excuse me, that we're using. And of course, we use the Bible to supplement different things and make sure that we're on track and make sure that culture is always represented. Come on. All right, so let's say hello, everybody, real quick. As you're standing to your feet, you're getting ready to reverence Yahweh's word in whichever way you are able. How you doing, Sister Beck? How you doing, Minister Stephen? How you guys doing over here on the podcast? How you doing on Facebook? How you doing? Let's see. I don't know how to say it. HAHSJD, etc., etc. Fair use. Shabbat Shalom. How you doing? Uh, Sister Monica, Tyrone, Whitlock, Sister Shirley, Sister Michelle, 1318698. Thanks for being part of the community. How you doing? Is it Garbear? Please forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. Aeneas. And by the way, moderators, thank you in advance, because you know this is going to be complicated subject matter. Persons aren't going to want to talk about this, but that's okay. We're talking about racism, and we're going to call it what it is: racism, white supremacy. Remember, racism. There can be different types of racism if you know how to define it. But we're talking about racism, ism, a system, race, competition based off of white supremacy, which is not all white persons are white supremacists, as we read yesterday. So we're going to make sure that we're staying on track. But then again, you know, it is what it is. Some persons are just going to be upset no matter what you do, but we're going to tell the truth. And if you come here, by the way, to think that we're white bashing, then you came to the wrong place as well. All right. How you doing, user 87956, etc.? Uh-oh, I'm having a problem scrolling. Excuse me. Oh, how you doing, Bruder Charlie? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm having a problem scrolling. Hola, ¿cómo está? Mi hermana Sherry. Gracias por tu presencia. ¿Cómo está? Um, Anti-MAGA, anti-left. Okay, cool. I'm pro kingdom, so I don't do the voting stuff anyways. How you doing, Sister Keita? Prayerfully, you're healing and getting better every day. How you doing, Zach Frederick? T4 G, Sister LaCrystal, Amon, Tamika, Moose, Garland, Sister Monica, if I didn't say so already, Angie, user 425, etc. Everybody, come on in. Michael, Suzette, feel like long time no talk to. Suzette, hopefully you've been doing well. I could be wrong about that, but prayerfully you've been doing well. How you doing, Mike? Mike Mass, so there's 2 Michaels on it. Or maybe it's the same one, I'm not sure. How you doing, Apostle Dr. Tamach? The Big Brother Thomas, Sister Judith. Aman. Uh-oh. I'm not sure. I think it made me skip again. I hope I didn't miss anybody, but if I did, once again, charge to my head, not to my heart. We appreciate love you. How you doing, CBC? Yes, Pro Kingdom is always great. How you doing, Brother Jacob over there doing great stuff, putting some great stuff out there. Follow Brother Jacob. He's got some really great stuff that he puts out there, eating habits wise, stuff like that, how to escape the system. You know, a lot of great stuff that he's putting out there, and very supportive of different things that are happening in the diaspora. So feel free to check him out. How you doing, Sister Nadine? How you doing, Sleek? Thanks for being part of the community. Big Bruder, the biggest Brutus, double OG, triple OG. All right, bless my heart over there. Love you to life. How you doing, Ernie's heart? Everybody come on in. Alrighty, love y'all. Love everybody. How you doing, Sister Jennifer? Once again, if I miss somebody, know that it's not on purpose. I'm on. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and say our Bible pledge, and we're gonna jump right in. How you doing, Brother Craig? How you doing, Dominique? If you want to put your Bible or your device or your right hand in the air, you can just repeat after me. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Hashem Yahweh. Aman. Which is in Yahweh's name, his authority. Amen. Alrighty. Respect. How you doing, Spliff? Alrighty. So we're going to go once again. The name of the book is called The United Independent Compensatory Code / System / Concept. The writer of it is Neely, Neely Fuller, Fuller, Jr. You can find PDFs. Usually the PDFs that I've been finding have a lot of advertisements. So unless you're going to buy the PDF or buy the book, etc., just know you probably have to go through a bunch of advertisements. That's okay. I'm using one that has advertisement just to ensure that everybody should be on the same page, and that if I'm having any issues with it, you guys, I can make sure that I'm empathetic to it. Grand Rising, user 93364, etc. So we're going to go into that book. If the easiest way, if you're Googling it, is just to look up Neely, Neely Fuller, Fuller, Jr., PDF, Neely Fuller Jr. PDF. First thing on Google that'll pop up is what I'm using. Should say scribed, should be the name of the page. It's going to ask you for a free download. If not, just realize you're going to have to go through quite a bit of advertisements to read through with us, but that's okay. That's what I'm using. So we're on the same page. I'm using the same thing. All right. So we're going at the same pace. All righty. If you have, there are a couple of different editions, I believe. So if you have a different edition, the pages might be a little different, but I'm starting at what I have is page 20. Come on. So what I have as page 20 is what we're going to be using here. Okay. So we're starting at page 20. We're going to go through these nine, these nine things that we've talked about before, these nine major areas of people activity in the known universe. Number one is economics. Number two is education. Number three is entertainment. Number four is labor. Number five is law. Number six, politics. Number seven is religion. Number eight is sex. Number nine is war. And we've already talked about this. This is actually part four of this series. We've been going over this series for a little while now. But in this series, we want to make sure that once again, this is a book, it's a workbook, it's a guidebook, it's a code book. And so if you've missed some of the things that we're talking about and some of the definitions that we have, I would suggest to you, please try to get up on it or at least go through some of it, right? But this is talking about how racism, white supremacy, so a system ensuring that only certain persons within it can get on top, how it is pervasive and infused, right? Literally interwoven into these areas of life, right? Really all life. Because if you look at the world, the whole world has been colonized, right? You don't use, the reason why you think that empirical data, for example, is something that's a huge deal is because you believe in an empirical mindset. You've been raised by the empire, right? And in our code, which is the word of Yah, the true code, we know that we are supposed to be in the world. Remember that word world is cosmos in the Greek, cosmos with a K, K-O-S-M-O-S. And that word cosmos is actually dealing with what? A system. So when we talk about a cosmos or the world, we have a different context. We're talking about the system and be ye in the system, but not of it. And so our goal is to work towards justice. And justice, according to the prism of the book, is working towards breaking down the system of racism, white supremacy, right? And according to us, we know that we are justified by faith. And the just shall live by faith. The word live even means to walk, right? In the Greek, live and walk are interchangeable. So it still talks about work. So if you're somebody who has faith that racism, white supremacy should leave, but you don't do anything to make sure that racism, white supremacy leaves, then you have faith with no works. And in our culture, faith without works has no life. Amen. All righty. Thank you for sharing the lives, and thank you for any likes, shares, subscriptions, all that stuff. Hit the notification tab if you're on YouTube or the first time you're watching us. Also, too, please, ma'am, please, sir, if you don't mind, I'm trying to get better at doing this. Again, I haven't really done this in a long, long time, but if you'd like to be able to give donations, don't forget tomorrow, Sunday, so 5 to 10 programs still in effect for the foreseeable future. And but if you'd like to give any kind of donation, if you believe in offerings, if you believe in tribute or tithe and stuff like that, tithe is tribute, by the way. That's what it is. It's a kingdom reference. So if you believe in such things as that, we thank you in advance. And you can find that information pretty much wherever the video is up. You'll be able to find information on how to do so. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's just jump right in. All right. Explanation. Area one, right? So these are the 9 major areas of people activity in the known universe, right? Area number 1, this is page 20 if you're using the book. Area number 1 is economics, which means the correct distribution of and or balance between all animals, persons, places, plants, things, etc. Economics in the correct sense is the sum total of all of the thought, speech, and or action used to produce maximum efficiency in revealing truth in a manner. So in a manner, so hopefully everybody got that. It's not just only what we're thinking of, right? A lot of us are only thinking of, what's their economics, only spending money, but it also is used to produce maximum efficiency in revealing truth, right? Don't skip over that. This is supposed to it's supposed to help with maximum efficiency in dealing with truth. If economics are in place, we are actually able to have truth revealed with maximum efficiency. All right. So maximum efficiency, revealing truth in a manner that promotes the establishment of justice and correctness in all areas of activity, including education, entertainment, law, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Economics also means using all things, thought, speech, and or action with maximum efficiency with the objective of eliminating racism, white supremacy. Economics does not mean simply acquiring, saving, and or spending money. Economics is not a tool of money. Money is a tool of economics. Economics is the result of a person or persons speaking and acting effectively in the production of justice and correctness. It is not simply how money is handled that determines economics. It is the matter of how everything is handled and to what ends and what direction we're going with it. In order for a person who is a victim of racism or white supremacy to practice economics, that person must speak and act to produce justice and correctness in the sum total of everything that he or she says and or does. This includes the use of time, the consumption of food and drink, sexual intercourse, and or thoughts of the use of labor, etc. For example, if listening to a particular type of sound inspires a person to think better while performing some function that helps to eliminate racism, white supremacy, then that type of sound becomes music, and that person at that time serves an economical purpose. The same is true for any other thing and or function pertaining to a person in any of his or her day-to-day activities. As regards action against racism, white supremacy, economic correctness is not determined by any one or more things that a victim of racism uh-oh. I'm gonna say that again. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I told you so. I'm dealing with the advertisement thing too. Give me 1 second. I got to get rid of it. Right. But hopefully everybody see it. Economics, we're talking about something different than what a lot of persons believe economics to be. All right. As regards action against racism, white supremacy, economic correctness is not determined by any one or more things that a victim of racism does and or doesn't do, but by the sum total of everything that victim does and or doesn't do in terms of effective results against racism. All right, that's a mouthful. That's the first area. How you doing, Mellow Mellow? Thanks for being part of the community. So if we're going to deal with racism, white supremacy, and we're looking for justice, and justice is basically getting us anything that gets us out of racism, white supremacy, right? Don't think justice is only up. Okay, now that we're gonna lock everybody up. That's not necessarily justice, because you could lock everybody up that did something wrong, but still not correct behaviors. But it's important that we catch this first area of the 9 we're gonna go through today, which is economics, because a lot of you don't think of an ecosystem, but you only think of money. How you doing, Sister Tamara? Right? Many of us are not thinking about an ecosystem. We're only thinking about money, right? And Shabbat Shalom to everybody coming on. So you have an issue, many of you, when you're thinking about economics, and we get in trouble financially, but really finances is a tool of economics. And thank you, Minister Shante, and how you doing? Right? It's a tool of economics. How you doing, Minister Samela Ray? And Sister Danielle. All right? And Brother Dwayne, excuse me, I missed a few of y'all coming on. All right, so a lot of persons are out here talking about economics in an ecosystem, not even thinking about like what that ecosystem actually entails. See, I say this all the time. You said I don't deserve the money I have. Okay, if that's your way of saying hello, how you doing? Um, you know, but you see what I'm saying? A lot of persons don't recognize that there's an ecosystem. So, for example, I don't really care about what somebody, like, for example, what the person said. You're actually helping me out. When you say I don't deserve the money that I have, money's not even real. Money is a manifestation. Because of who I am, money flows. Right? If you want to go to scripture, those of you, right, read your Bible, it'll bless you, right? Because of, and how you doing? Is it Money or Monet or Moni? Please forgive me. I don't know how to pronounce it. Monie. Thank you for being on. So, for example, I say this all the time. You are an ATM machine, right? The ATM machine is set. Everybody knows the value of what's put in the ATM machine. If the ATM machine just stays in place, persons come, right? You are a tree. Nobody goes to the tree, or the tree never goes to doors and knocks on doors and says, "Hey, would you like my apples? Would you like my bananas? Would you like my right? Would you like my this? Would you like some guac?" No. If you're into those things, you go to the tree, or even if you go to the store, a storage facility for your food. Even when you go there, somebody had to go to the tree to be able to get it. You see what I'm saying, right? Like you don't have to go out of your way to be something that you're not, right? If you Many persons are consumers only, but you don't think as producers. That's an economic problem. How you doing, Joy Boy? And when you don't recognize that you are supposed to produce, the better you produce, the more things persons will see that they need to consume from you. And prayerfully, you're setting up a system that those who consume for you are consuming something from you, rather that you might be able to, that they might be able to produce due to what you have or what they have consumed from you. Let me try that again because I just jumbled up my words. Prayerfully, you as a producer also produce a system. How you doing, Sister Deborah? And that system helps to produce something in entirety, right? That when the system comes together and produces, you will be able to have something that is produced that when others consume it, they themselves will be able to make sure they produce as well. Now, we should focus on our community, on our society, on those who are like-minded, on those who want to eradicate the system of racism, white supremacy. We should consume from them first. Right? We should come to them first. We shouldn't be looking to come to them last. We shouldn't go to everybody else first. But no. If you're going to consume from persons that produce who are of you, but watch this, who are of you and also are producing for you. Because if they're producing truly for you, whatever they give you will help you, the consumer, to produce for someone else. That's the goal. Right? So economically, a lot of us are off base anyways, because a lot of us are not thinking. When somebody says economics, many of you just go to and don't think about, hey, economically speaking, how are the animals in my community? Right? You don't think economically, if I eat of animal flesh, how are chickens being raised? Some of you are in places that you could buy chickens for $4 a chick. Raise them yourself. For $4 a chick, invest. Spend $400. Get yourself $100 worth of chickens. Somebody says, I don't have that much land, I don't have that. Okay, fine, get yourself 3 chickens. If you can get yourself 3 chickens and raise them right, you'll never have to pay for a carton of eggs again. Especially if you're by yourself. If you're by yourself, shoot, 1 carton of eggs get you through the week. That's economics, right? We're not thinking about economics. What are the herbs that grow around me? Right? Why am I still economically spending a whole bunch of money for vegetables and vegetation and fruit and potatoes and stuff? And some of that stuff can grow even if I have an apartment. I can grow it right inside my living room. That's economics. Economically speaking, why is it that brothers are so busy talking about that they hip hop, but all of their clothes don't come from a so-called hip hop community? All their clothes are bought by these designers who are Eurocentric and don't even necessarily like you and put any pennies into your society. Why not get from somebody who designs for you and stuff like that? And if that person is designing from you, then see if that producer is consuming the fabric that they get, to see if they get it from somebody who's in your community as well. Right? You see all that? Like you have, it's an economic system. How you doing, Minister Yasab? The ecosystem is bigger than just your money. Right? That's why when your Bible even talks about tithing, right? It's my Bible too. It's Yahweh's Bible, right? But I'm just saying, right? When our Bible talks about tithing, a lot of persons don't get it. Tithing is not just about money. Before there was a dollar, there was still tithing. And the tithing was supposed to go into the storehouse, something to put together for the community. So when the community needed something, we had a storehouse, a storage facility, or as you even call it, a store. So it's interesting that we don't even think about the fact that there should be a store that we have that's filled up with stuff that we produced so that we as the consumers can come to it in times of lean when we aren't producing as much. Right? Why are you wearing everybody else's clothes? If you wore clothes that were of your community and wore them out and person saw it more, you advertise even for your community. By consuming what your community produces, you even ensure that you make sure that you advertise what your community produces, which means now persons buy what your community produces. You see? Everything that you do, produce your hairstyles. whether they're protective or otherwise. I'm not arguing any of that today, right? Whether protective or otherwise, produce your hair or your hairstyle made by, right, and make sure that you consume it from persons that produce your stuff to make sure that they build you up, not just so-called black stuff, but something that's cultural. When I wear this hairstyle, it represents Yah in this manner. When I wear this hairstyle, this is how our mothers wear it, blah blah. When we wear this hairstyle, we want our daughters to look at us. When we wear this hairstyle, we want our sons to look at us and say, "Yeah, I want a woman who's going to produce that same hairstyle." And if I'm going to consume things, right? Watch the language. Speak life into your marriage because your child is watching what you speak into your marriage. So produce what it is that you want your child to consume because they will marry somebody and consume what it is that you produced. Mm. Right? That's why persons talk about, declare a thing that shall be established, or they talk about be careful what you speak, or you are what you eat, you are what you speak, etc. Speak life, all these things. Because whenever you speak in it, you're producing something. Whatever you're producing, somebody, somewhere, including yourself, has to consume. Mm. All right. I think we got enough out of that. How you doing, Marine? And everybody coming in here. Yeah, if we tie production of resources and services, we see service not exchange. There you go, right? And it's easy to talk about preachers being robbers when we are tithing the production of things. Yeah, you know. Even by the way, even these big churches, persons aren't tithing to them anymore either. But I get it because they weren't doing anything proper. The first thing we shouldn't have been doing, we shouldn't have built huge, mausoleums basically, where persons come in there to get spiritual guidance and they end up losing their spiritual life. We should have made sure that we were feeding. We should have made sure we were knocking on doors. We should have made sure persons were clothed. We should have made sure persons were fed. We should have built a community. Yeah. So that's the first one. Economics, right? You said you don't believe in religion like that. Well, first of all, the word religion just means a legion of people that repetitively do something. Religion, and everybody's part of a religion. If you drink water and I drink water today, guess what? We just had a religious activity. Sometimes we make things so mystical they're not practical. Practically speaking, everybody has a religion, and an atheist has a religion, right? If they religiously every day believe that there is no um, higher power, right? Then they religiously do that. If there's somebody else that does it and they do it, and 3, 4, 5, 6 of y'all do it, guess what? You have a religion. You can call it whatever you want, but it's a religion, right? So it's not so much what your religion says or what your religion is even thought to be. It's really what does your religion do, right? What do you religiously do every day? See, even that is economics. How you doing, Brother Allen? Right? How you doing, Sister Monica? Even that is economics. Economically speaking, religiously, what do we do every day, all the time to support one another, right? And to get justice. Justice being what in the context of this book for the next few weeks, next couple of weeks or whatever, right? Is for us to do what with it? To make sure that we are anti-racism, white supremacy, right? If you work out every day, you religiously work out. If you eat food every day, you religiously eat food, right? That's what religion actually means. So we've had once again. That's why we got to get into code, structure, etymology, right? We have so many different things that come from somebody else's culture and from an oppressive mindset that we hear the word religion and we can't wait to say why I'm not religious. And I used to say that. I used to go as far as saying I'm spiritual, not holy, because there's holy rollers, but that don't make no sense. I want to be holy. The word holy actually means put a W before that H. It means to be whole, one. Alav, Aleph, right? It means to be one, whole. Hakodash. Why would one not want to be one, holistic, one, not not to and fro, no cognitive dissonance, no being double-minded. I want to be whole, right? So these are terms that we have to use. That's part of economics. Okay, if you want to call it a relationship, sure, but you can have a relationship with someone, and if your religion's not great in that relationship, I'm married to my wife, for example. I'm not trying to come against you. We can agree to disagree. I just like to use words as they originally were intended, right? I'm not saying that you don't. I'm saying that's a big thing that I do, even as a teacher and stuff like that, right? So if my wife and I are in a relationship and right, but I'm not religiously doing some things, like I religiously tell my wife I love you. I religiously give my wife hugs. I religiously lay down with my wife. I religiously make sure bills are paid. I religiously honor her. I religiously talk about her. I religiously give her a platform to ensure that, and not even give her per se, but, make sure her platform is lifted up. I religiously support her business. I religiously cover her. This is all religion. Somebody, right? But That's because I want my relationship with her to be on point. You see what I'm saying? So we're using you might think that I'm using the word because once again we're coming from how somebody else taught us these words, or even if somebody didn't teach us these words, they just said, look at this definition. Even recall the word definition is defined. It was fine to begin with. If you look at we don't even know terminology. Remember, even the English language is based off spells. In our culture, we use characters to put word together. In their culture, you spell words out. We're not witches, but you're used to another language. So even the Bible, or even different things that we're reading, even the colleges we go to, even these HBCUs, they're not even started by us. They don't. The money doesn't go into your pocket. You think when you support an HBCU, you're supporting a community. The reality is, though, is that the reason why there's so much stuff, mischief and so much mismanagement of funds there and stuff, is because that it wasn't started by you, it's not for you. You think it's for us by us. And you think HBCU is FUBU, but it's not, right? So we're being taught these terms and terminology through someone else. That's why it's important that we discuss code, right? But anyways, on to the next one. So we just finished with economics. We're going to move on to the next one. I believe we're on page 21 now. If you're reading through the book, once again, the book, The United Independent Compensatory Code /System/Concept by Neely Fuller Jr. And I'm on page 21, which is area number 2. Area number 2 is education. Education, which means the process of learning all things about all things. That's a bar right there. We're going to come back to that. It's the process of learning all things about all things, and or the process of learning all things about one thing. If all is known about one thing, then all is known about all things. Because all things are interrelated. And thank you for the love. How you doing, Rasta Queen? Respect, Wagwan, right? All things are interrelated. Did you catch that? That's a bar. Education, which means the process. So education is a process, right? The processing of it is a verb. Remember, Tion on the word makes it a noun, right? So a noun. So to educate. If you don't know, by the way, what the verb educate to educata means, there's different ways to say it, but I'll just use that one. To educate, if you will, it simply means, it literally means, if you were to break down the word, that somebody is supposed to reach inside you. This is what it means. Obviously not physically, right? We're talking about psychologically, spiritually, etc., emotionally, right? But education literally means to educate verbally, or as a verb, verbally as a verb, right? As an action. It literally means to reach inside you, pull out what's in you, show it to you, show you the potential, in other words, that you have. See if we agree on the potential. If we do, fine, let me put it back inside you and let's start working out this process of teaching you what you were just shown. Even the word education. This book is more on point than probably even the writer might have intended, right? Because that's literally what education means. So education is now a person, place, a thing. So a person, place, a thing, when we're talking about education, a person who has education, or a person who even is education, a place that has education, or a place that is education, a thing that has education, or a thing that is educated, or whatever it is, right? Or that educates. This education must be a person. You as a person must be somebody in education that can go ahead and do what? Can show person the potential that's inside of them, and then literally get them to agree that there's that potential that's there. And now let's go through the process of reaching what we saw. In other words, education is getting you back to your original intent. There's something in you that's been there before the foundations of the world. And through education, our goal is to ensure that we show you who you were always supposed to be, before all this falling short, missing the mark, sin, etc., hit your life. And now let's get you to that. Let's go through the process, right? You were never supposed to be manipulated as a child, but you were. So now that we know that you were, let's go through the process of getting you to what that unmanipulated child would have been. Praise y'all, Sister Shirley. Right? Right? You shouldn't have had relationship. I don't care if it was 100 persons 100 bodies, or one body. If that was outside of your marriage, it should have never taken place. So let's start the process of getting you back to what you would have been before that happened, right? You should have never had somebody do unmentionable things to you in whatever way you want to take that, right? How you doing, Bruder Richard? That being said, right now we're going to start the process. And watch this. The goal, as it said in education in the book, it said the goal is not just to educate you. It says to learn, to make sure we have the process of teaching and learning all things about all things. I love this. This is a bar. Or he also says we can learn all things about one thing. How does that work? Because if I learn all things about one thing, then I'll really end up learning all things about all things. Or watch this, it opens the door. If I learn everything there is about love, yeah, and it can't happen overnight. That's right. We got to take our time with it. If I learn everything about love, right, and I master everything about love, then I'll start to I open the door to mastering everything about marriage. If I master everything about marriage, then I open the door to mastering everything about fatherhood. If I open up the door to mastering everything about fatherhood, then I've opened up the door to mastering everything about parenting. If I've opened up the door to everything about parenting, I've opened up the door to everything about finances to take care of who I parent. If I'm opening up the door to things about financial literacy, then I start opening up the door to learning how currency and flow works. If I open up the door to flow, then when somebody mentions Holy Spirit, I can even start to realize how flow works. If I'm opening up the door to Holy Spirit, I've opened up the door to being covered by Yahushua. If I'm covered by the Messiah, Yahushua, then I've opened up the door to knowing the Father and who He is, for He is the Father and the Father is Him. If I've opened up the door to that, then I've opened up the door to Elohim, who is, or some of you say Elohim, which is 3 in 1. If I learn all things about one thing, I've opened up the door to learn all things about all things. This is why the saying did not originally say, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. No, no, no. The saying originally goes, I'm a jack of all trades, master of one. If I can master one, remember, master means teacher, by the way. So if I can teach it, if I can live it, but then also teach what I live. And also, a teacher is always a disciple. Just like when you went to preschool, you're still a preschooler. Did you know that? This is why a lot of you get lost on stuff. You know, they'll have that show, Do You Know More Than a Fourth Grader? Right? Because you were supposed to keep up what you learned. That's right. Seek ye first the kingdom, master that relationship, right? Come on, right? So remember they had that show, Do You Know More Than the Fourth Grade? And they have different iterations of that show to come back here and there, right? And you'll be going through the show and you'll be like, man, I really don't know that. Especially if you're not doing like homeschooling and stuff like that. I kind of can keep up with some of it because of homeschooling. But you're like, man, yeah, I did used to learn. I did used to know a little bit of Spanish. I used to know a little bit of Greek. I used to know a little bit of, what they're talking about. But man, I forgot algebraic equations. I can't really tell you A squared plus B squared equals C squared anymore. Like, man, you start to lose certain things. But it's because you stopped mastering. You stop considering yourself a disciple. But see, a preschooler is, once you finish being in preschool, you go to kindergarten, correct? But once you get to kindergarten, you're still a preschooler. How do you know this? Because they expect you to know everything you knew in preschool and still be in kindergarten. When you get to first grade through sixth grade, you're still a preschooler and a kindergartner. How do we know this? Because they still expect you to know your ABCs. They still expect you to listen to your teachers. Right? They still expect you to know what to do in recess. Right? Once you finish first through sixth grade and you get to middle school, right? For those who are in the States, you get to middle school, you're still expected to be an elementary school student. Why? Because they're not expecting for you to forget all that. They're not saying it doesn't matter anymore. You're still a disciple of those things because you've mastered them, but you still have to be disciplined or discipled in what you've mastered. When you get to the high school, they don't say, okay, you don't have to know your ABCs anymore. They say, you still got to know your ABCs, right? Don't get it twisted. You still must know your ABCs, but we're on a path to get you even more information. But they still give you a lot of review, and sometimes teachers will be like, "Man, y'all done forgot basic fourth grade math," and they'll take a whole week reminding you of fourth grade math because we can't go into these algebraic equations, and you having problems with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. We about to go to another place, and then geometry comes, and then you start talking about other things, and right, you got science about all. They're saying, "Hey, you got to recall all of it," and when you go to college. And you looking at that bachelor's, you looking at that, or baccalaureate, if you will. You're looking at that baccalaureate or that bachelor's, but that baccalaureate degree, or you're looking at ensuring that you get that what? Get that master's degree, which means you can teach it. Or right, so bachelor's degree basically you can kind of be in a little higher management. Master's means that you could teach it to others, and you get your doctorate. That means that they expect that you can write it out or write different versions of it to continue to keep that system flowing. That's what those degrees really are talking about. And when you get right, that's why you have to give dissertations, because they want to see, can you teach it and can you write it out? That you know, right? Those who got degrees, some of you got more degrees than I got, but those of you who got degrees, that's where that comes from. That's what that is what they are doing. Right? So our goal is to also make sure that we are discipled, because if you can learn preschool, then you can learn kindergarten. And if you can learn kindergarten, you can learn elementary. And if you can learn elementary, you can learn middle. And if you can learn middle, you can learn secondary. If you can learn secondary, you can learn baccalaureate. If you can learn baccalaureate, you can learn masters. If you can learn masters, you can learn doctorate. Why is that all important in the kingdom? If you can learn the law, Salah. Right? You're not supposed to forget the law just because you went to the next. Even though we know that it's different, because some of you don't know that the New Testament, Old Testament, that was added in later. But if you can learn the law, then you can talk about Paul. Y'all got this thing twisted. You trying to start at Paul, and Paul's like, I learned the law. Paul says that there's an advantage. Romans chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. There's an advantage to being circumcised, that means lawful, and there's an advantage to being Judah, that means Israel. He said, in much every way, because we had the mysteries revealed, because we had the law and the prophets. He said, that's why I can teach. Romans chapter 11, he says, should we forget about, before he talks about everybody who can be grafted in, for sure, he says, should we forget about Israel in her place? He says, Elohim forbid that mindset. See, because he's educated on the things that you think are fringe or small or don't matter as much, he's saying, that's why I can teach you what I can teach you. You got this thing twisted. You're trying to talk about Revelation. You don't know Genesis 3. If you don't know Genesis 3 and who that woman is, you can't read Revelation 12. Come on, somebody. If you don't know Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7 and Daniel chapter 11 and Zechariah and Zephaniah and Malachi, then you're going to have a tough, in Matthew chapter 24 and Matthew 25, you're going to have a real tough time when it comes to Revelation chapters 4, basically through the end, but we'll say Matthew chapter 4, Revelation chapter 4 through Revelation chapter 15. Because that's the continued conversation. You're not supposed to say, I don't need Genesis anymore, because Genesis and Genesis 3 and Revelation 12, that's the same woman. And if you don't know Isaiah 9 and who the child is that comes out of the woman, and Jeremiah 3, who is the wife of the Most High, then you'll never know who it's talking about. How you doing, twin? You'll never know who it's talking about. You got to keep on growing. Don't think that just because you finished with kindergarten that you no longer need it in first grade. Don't let them lie to you. It doesn't even make sense. How you doing, Brother Ali? We got to be on one accord constantly. How you doing, Monster? Said yeah, your PhD and all. You're learning to live the law is the greatest. Come on, that's basically what Paul says, sis. You ain't saying nothing different than what Paul said. How you doing, Auntie Marion? Hopefully continuing to improve and the health, getting it back. How you doing, Sister Joy? All right. So we have all these different things going on. Praise Yah. All right, let's keep on going. I believe we're on page 22 now. So please, man, please, sir, if you're following along in the book, I'm going to go to page 22. Page 22, let's go to the third area. Praise Yah. Is anybody getting anything out of this? I know it's a little different teaching for many. But you guys getting something out of this? I know this is something that really blessed me when I really started getting this type of mindset into my life. Neely Fuller Jr. I credit him with a lot of stuff. A lot of ways of thought. Even if I don't agree with everything, you ain't got to agree with everything, but, learn from other persons besides just yourself, right? Study to show thyself approved, bring before Elohim, but need to know how to work this stuff, right? We got to have a code. All right, be safe on your travels, Sister Monica, and if your daughters are with you, hopefully they're being safe as well. All right, area 3, entertainment. Area number 3, entertainment. which means, watch this. So entertainment, which means any activity. Watch this. What is entertainment? This is our definition. This is our code. All right. Entertainment, which means any activity that is desired and or enjoyed, including that which is just and or unjust. In other words, that which is anti-racism, white supremacy, or that is racism, white supremacy, and that which is correct and or incorrect. It's moral or it's immoral. It's truthful or it's a lie. Y'all catch that? So when we say entertainment, we're not just talking about your music. Part of it. Remember, he even said that music can be part of your ecosystem. Because music affects the way. Have you ever noticed that a lot of cats that are sitting up there in busted cars with rims falling off, suspension jacked up, holes in the bottom, right? Roof, paint is coming off the top. I used to be somebody had roof coming up, paint coming off the top, and car didn't work and all that. But guess what? I was listening to all this music talking about making money and being street and being hood and this and that or whatever. But you see what I'm saying, right? That's part of your ecosystem. But it's entertainment. But see, a lot of you are enjoying, right? Enjoying stuff that's not just and that's not correct. Right? Many of us are entertained. So those of you who do certain recreational activities, right? I'll just say it like that, right? Certain recreational activities. Certain recreational activities. I'll leave it there. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm not really supposed to say what they are. I get in trouble. But those of you who have seen or have been into certain recreational activities before in your life and been overdoing it, right? Overdoing it per se, right? Take the O and the over the D and doing it part and put those together, because you don't even have to pass away to have that happen to you. But those who've been overdoing those things and things of that nature, right? That's entertainment as well, right? There's a word that, once again, proper etymology. How you doing, Granny and X? Right? There's proper etymology. Right? There's a word that's called amazed. Have you ever thought about what that word amazed means? If something amazes you or something is there to amaze, what is a maze? Not a maze, but what is a maze? What is, if you go to a maze, if you do a maze on the sheep, if you go to a cornfield and you see a maze, whatever it is, what is a maze designed to do? You got to catch what this stuff is. What is a maze designed to do? What is the point of a maze? Okay, it can be a trap. There goes Sister Sabria, right? But ultimately, even in the trap, or ultimately there might be traps in it too. But what is the point? So some people say to get lost. You could get lost in it. But the goal of a maze, what's the goal? How about that? Right? Some of the goal of a maze is to finish what you started, to find proper direction. And sometimes mazes are designed to ensure that, yes, you might have to go through a little something. You might have to go through a struggle to figure out how to get out of it. Right? You might have to figure it out different. But the goal of a maze is ultimately to make sure that you can get through it. Right? This is why we even have stuff that we call like, for men, and we have certain steps that you have to go through, right? In order to be declared a man, there's certain steps that you're supposed to go through to do what's supposed to do. Or, to certain steps you're supposed to do. Well, I'm not Jesus, nor do I believe in him. I believe in Yahashua. Yahashua is his name. Right? Jesus means half man, half Zeus. So, that's your way of saying hello. Thanks for saying hello. If you're going to keep going down that road of calling me something that I'm not, though, because I never want anybody to think of anything close to my name being associated with worship of me. So, thank you for being on, though. If you're saying I look like him, because our people are him or whatever, but I'm not him. And I'm definitely not half man, half Zeus, which is what Jesus actually means, right? Dionysus, daughter of Zeus, Dionysus, son of Zeus, Perseus, son of Zeus, right? Pegasus, horse of Zeus, Zeus. Yes, Zeus, half man, half Zeus. I'm not a demi-deus. All right. But anyways, so when we're talking about entertainment, right, this word amazed. If something amazes you, It means a maze, right? So maze is something that's supposed to give you direction, and you're supposed to get through something, even through obstacles. And even when you teach your children, there should be a maze of sorts. You should never, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if, I don't want my children to go through anything I want to. I don't want them to go through hard times. Yeah, that's why hard times, for you produce who you are. But now you want to give your child soft times, and then you're trying to figure out why your children are acting like that, right? But a maze is saying it's the opposite of maze. It's the opposite of direction. This is why when you say you're amazed, you're saying, I can't even do anything. I'm stupefied. That's amazing. I can't believe it. I don't know what to say after that. I can't put anything else on it. Amazed. That's what the term means. So many persons have been amazed. You have this suspension of disbelief. I'm brother Lamar. How you doing? You have a suspension of disbelief. You've been captivated, a captive to it. You have television, teleports a vision into you, right? Also, too, television. It's really not only just teleport, but telegram. Same thing as telegram, teleport, it sends a vision to you, right? Even Hasatan is known as the prince of the air. So when you listen to certain things on the airwaves, and when we get all these signals, and now we can watch everything on our phone, on our television, we can tell the phone, put it on the television, this and that. That's all through the air, and a lot of things that are on there come through a demonic prism. I don't think that's too difficult for us to believe, right? These things are coming through a demonic prism. The goal is not for you to become who Yah wants you to be. The goal is for you to believe in the demonic. It is the demonic things of the air, right? The dark things, the confusing things of the air that get play, right? These are things that what? Entertain you. It entertains your flesh, right? Watch this, sisters, why do men watch sports so much? Why are you even watching sports? It's not like you even playing anymore. What fulfillment do you get out of it? Well, men have testosterone. And the more testosterone we build up, it calms us down, right? And so when we watch a sports event, this is scientifically proven, by the way, right? It's proven medically as well. When you watch a sporting event, your testosterone levels spike. And so your husband or your son or whatever, your brother, when they watch it, even if they're yelling this and that, isn't that, they got a lot of stuff in them that probably need to get out. But there's some men that watch a sports game and yeah, they'll yell to get excited, but it's testosterone. It actually helps them in the long run to calm down. Now they use a lot of other tactics though to get them in there, right? To get them captivated by it. So they sell them the stories. They tell you somebody's life. They give you kind of like same thing that you guys get out of your for those of you who watch what do you call soap operas? Young and the Restless, Nollywood. I don't even know the names of the shows. I'm probably really old in them because I remember the ones I came up on. I never even really watched them, but you saw them in the house all the time. What is it? General Hospital, uh, Dallas, stuff like that. I don't even know what's out nowadays. There's probably new ones. I guess even stuff like Empire, that was basically the same thing. But you'll watch these things and it helps you with your Real Housewives and stuff. And when you're watching those things, it's actually helping you build up estrogen. Those are designed to get estrogen and testosterone because you actually, believe it or not, have more testosterone than men. You have to have more estrogen and testosterone going on than we do because you carry life. Right? But your estrogen outnumbers your testosterone. Our testosterone outnumbers our estrogen. Right? So you have all this stuff in you. So they build these shows different because they know they've studied you. And they know in order to teleport a vision into you and to get you to suspend disbelief, they've got to give it to you in a certain manner. Just like for a man, if they're going to have them watch sports all day or watch professional wrestling or watch boxing or watch this and that, watch basketball, whatever the case might be, they give it to him in a certain package. Watch hunting, watch fishing. He's getting a testosterone his testosterone is getting filled up. You said basketball used to put you to sleep. Yeah, and it put some women are like, I'm bored by this, but it's because it's not designed for you to be estrogen driven and to get the testosterone that you need from it. You'll get some testosterone, but you need something that fills your estrogen or deals with your estrogen because technically even I don't want to go deep into that, but technically estrogen is not necessarily the greatest of things to be focused on as far as certain things. You need to really be focused more on progesterone. Estrogen kind of is certain type of trash that your body needs to get rid of, and a lot of times you hold on to too much estrogen. That's a whole other thing, though. But yeah, we're built different, and they know. They've studied you, right? Let's keep on going on. Let's get back to business. Let's go to the next one. Praise God. All right. Area number 4 is labor. Labor. Labor, which means any act of using energy to accomplish an objective. Any objective that you have, right? That you're trying to get, any vision that you have, any mission that you have, however you want to call it, or however you want to label it. If you have a vision, any energy used is labor. If you have faith in something and you want to do something to get towards it, those are called works. Those works are also labor. Now, when we talk about these areas, where are we talking about them? Because we want to deal with getting rid of racism, white supremacy. We also want to bring kingdom to earth, right? And by doing one, we'll do the other. Now, our goal, as I said yesterday, day before, whatever it was, my goal specifically, is not to ensure that I fight for all. And this is something that really messes persons up. But I only have so much labor, right? I only have so much influence. I only have so much. And yeah, you can say, well, you have more than something. That's true. But I only have so much. And so I have been called, right, to run my race and to run it well and to stay in my lane. And so I know that there's persons that are waiting for me. Oh, when you going to start making sure that you deal with this group, that group? I've been called to a specific people. And so one of the tricks of the enemy is to be like, well, you see what's going on with the poor children here, and what about the poor children here and the poor? And I get that. Somebody needs to deal with that because I've got poor children here. Well, all persons have gone through chattel slavery and stuff. No, not all persons went through chattel slavery, but yes, many, if not all, let's just say for the sake of argument, all persons went through slavery. That's not exactly true, but all people went through slavery, all nations. Okay, if that's what you want to argue, okay, that's cool. But what about our people? How you doing, Felicia? See, this is one of the tricks. Well, all women are having problems, but but you trying to call that a woman and that a woman, and then even that woman over there through feminism, they don't care about our women and feminism. What about our women? I only have so much labor to give, right? Labor being the energy that I'm focused towards getting them an objective. So you must know your mission or your objective. If you're not in love with your objective, right, then you'll be in lust for what you covet. Everybody covets. Everybody covets. Hear what I'm about to say. I hope this makes sense the way Holy Ghost gave it to me. It makes sense in my brain and my heart. Prayerfully, it comes out correctly. Everybody covets helping everybody. But it's not lawful to want something that you can't do. I'm going to try to say it again. Right? Everybody covets. Let's do a rewind real quick. Let me see if I can get this. Everybody covets helping everybody. But it is not lawful to lust for something that you cannot do. All right. Everybody covets. All preachers covet. All of us have this thing inside of us, at least initially, that says, I want everybody to agree with what I'm saying because what I'm saying is going to bless them. But eventually, if you're going to become a greater preacher, you got to become tied to, connected to the fact and the context that I'm not going. No person will ever fully 100% agree with everything I say. Everybody covets to help everybody. Everybody wants to bless everybody with money, but you got to figure out where your labor is going. Everybody wants to bless everybody with time, but you got to figure out where your labor is. What is your objective? Come on, yeah, it's practical. We're not going to be mystical, right? It's a myth. Matter of fact, let's not be mythical. Let's be practical. It is a myth that you can help everybody. And a myth is a lie. If we find out that it's true, it's not a myth anymore. So it's mythical. It is a lie to have somebody believe that their labor can go to everybody. And persons will try to get you to feel guilty because you can't bless everybody or you can't represent everybody. Everybody does not even agree, and everybody doesn't even want your representation. And when you're so busy selling your soul, exchanging everything to gain everybody's permission, then you find out that everybody will tear you down once you don't agree with one person. Everybody will tear you down once they see when you were 13 years old, you gave that tweet that you gave, or that whatever they call it on X now, right? Amen. But this is even very true, right? How you doing, Lily? How you doing, Cultural Prospect? Right? It is mythical. It is a lie to believe that I can help everybody. And if anybody's preaching that we should help everybody, then you're not into the righteousness, because what is it? We went over this the other night, Luke chapter 12, verses 51 through 53, when we had our meetup for, the 12 myths of Christmas and all that. When we did our meetup, we talked about that. Luke chapter 12, verse 51 through 53. Yahashua said, the Messiah, he says, suppose ye, that's a lawful terminology, by the way. Supposition is what the contract or what the covenant means, right? So suppose ye, do you suppose, in this supposition, do you suppose that I came that there would be peace on earth? He said, no, not peace. He said, nay, I came that there would be division. He said, when I come with truth, there'll be three in one house and they'll be against two. There'll be two in one house and they'll be against three. He said, mother will be against daughter, and father will be against son, and mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, and father-in-law against son-in-law. He said, when it comes to truth, some cats ain't trying to live true. It's going to mess you up. It's going to mess you up. Because if you get into truth, you got to realize that it's not for everybody, including those that you thought you would be with forever. Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom to everybody. Peace. You said, if led, there should be direction. Can't be everywhere. Yeah. So you have to know your objectives. This is a big problem with many of us, is we do not know our objectives. We don't even have objectives. You don't have vision. You don't have goal. You don't have mission plan, vision plan. You're supposed to have objectives. Watch this. You know why many of you don't object to anything? Because you don't have an objective. When you know the objective, then you have objections. Come on, somebody. Those are boundaries. When you have an objective, you'll have objections. So if somebody comes to me, Pastor Kofi, we want you to talk about this. I'm sorry, I can't. I have to object. I have to say no, respectfully. I see what you're trying to do. Matter of fact, I love what you're trying to do. Matter of fact, if I can do something behind the scenes, we'll try to get some persons that are part of SOC. Maybe they can do some stuff for you. But I can't. I don't have time to direct towards that. Right? I have an objective. My objective is to take care of my wife. So there's times that somebody might be asking me to do something, and it's an emergency. I know it is, but my wife comes first. So I know you in the midst of it, we crying it out, this and that. I'm sorry, hey, Elder Alma's calling. And I don't feel bad about it. Sometimes in my flesh, I feel like, oh man, I wish. But you can have righteous intent and not be righteous. I have an objective. I want to be the greatest husband I can be. And so if my wife needs me to be a greater husband at the time, then you need me to be a greater pastor. And I used to be made feel guilty, and I would make her feel, or try to make her feel guilty. I didn't realize it, but it was manipulative behavior. I'd be like, well, this person might need me. And what if somebody needs to call me at 3 a.m.? And what if somebody blah, blah, and this and that or whatever? But if that's not how she rolled, that's not how she rolled. I'm married to her before I'm married to, matter of fact, I'm married to Yah. I'm married to her, and I'm not married to anybody else. So I had to be real. This is why I tell, when sisters come in, they be on some stuff and they start going in on their husband, my husband not this, and he not that, and Pastor Kofi, it was just like you, blah, blah. I be stopping them. I'm like, yo, if your husband was talked about in a similar fashion, not even in the same fashion, you should be spoken of more highly than I. But if you talked about him in a similar fashion you talk about me, then maybe he wouldn't have a problem with you, and he definitely wouldn't have a problem with me. But he ain't gonna have no problems with me. If you're gonna talk about me like that, let me talk to that brother, because I need him to know that I don't even want you to talk about me better than you talk about him. And if you are in that place to where you feel like you can't trust him like that, then maybe we need to figure out if y'all need to be together, or you need to, because I'm not gonna be the one to tell you to get a divorce. That's for you. But that being said, right, like you got to have an objective. You got into a marriage and didn't realize the objective. The objective is till death do us part. So unless something happens that's going to stop that, till death do us part, that's it. If you coming to me about a marriage, right? And you trying to have me help you figure out how to not be in it, recognize I can help you to cushion some of this stuff, but my objective is always going to be that there's nothing that you can't get past. Now, if you feel like, though, lawfully speaking, they've done something that allows you out of the marriage, then so be it. That's your decision. But my objective is always going to tell you what my objection will be. Yeah, no, they don't get that. It's out of order. Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? Anyway, let me leave it there. I think we got the point. You got to have an objective. That's why a lot of you don't have objections. How you doing on fire for him? That's why a lot of you don't have objections. You should be objecting. Brothers, some of the things that your boys are asking you to do and your wife don't want you to do it and you're so busy. No, you should have some objections because you have an objective. Your mama telling you this about your spouse, blah, blah, this and that, whatever. Guess what? You should have some objectives for this cause. Well, man, leave a mother and father and cleave to his wife. And his wife is going to go from being the spiritual daughter of her father to becoming the spiritual daughter and the physical husband of her husband, right? There's some objections you should have. Daddy, you don't even get to talk like that about my husband. Prayerfully, you've been trained correctly. I'm not saying don't listen to daddy at all, but there's sometimes y'all just be letting daddy and mama speak on stuff. No, you don't even get to speak like that over there. Well, I'm just saying, if I was done, but yeah, but this isn't your marriage, right? But many of us, we didn't know what husbands and wives were before we got in, so I can see this. There can be some leeway. Anyways, Holy Spirit, let's move. Let's keep it moving. Praise Yah. So we just came out of right, but we got to have some objectives. We got to have some objectives, right? If we don't have some objectives, we're gonna be dealing with a lot of craziness. A lot of us are dealing with a lot of foolishness because you don't have objectives, and when you don't have objectives, you don't have objections. You don't have boundaries. That's what it is. Somebody listen to me right now. Your baby is all over the place, and you trying to give labor to this area, labor to that area, and do stuff that's not even righteous. Your baby doesn't need that labor, that work that you've given them. You need to have an objection because you got objectives. All right, area number five. Area number five is talking about law. Law, which means in this context, anything that is done. But reality is for him, he's talking about building a code up. Right? Neely Fuller Jr. is talking about building a code. So as we build a code, right, when you have a bunch of different things that are put together, we talked about this already in this series. When you have a bunch of things that are put together, when these things are put together, they come together and you start codifying them. You start giving them order and structure. Eventually that becomes what you call law. Now we know that we have the word of Yahweh, which is a code. It's a law, right? When you say I'm going to Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 to talk about wives, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, that's a code. It's codified. It's separated. It's law. Right? So that was not even that difficult, right? We believe in law. Unfortunately, many persons who say they believe in the Bible do not anymore, but it is lawless and therefore of the carnal mind. That's according to scripture, by the way. All right. Area 6. Let's move on to Area 6. I think that one's self-explanatory for us. Area 6, politics, which means people relations, which is part of poli, by the way. But politics, which means people relations and or any relations between people at any time, in any place, in any area of activity. If we're going over the 9 areas today so far, we've gone over education, we've gone over entertainment, we've gone over law, we've gone over politics just now. We've gone over labor. So we're going over these different things, right? So when we're talking about politics is not just are you a Republican or a Democrat. So to a certain degree, everybody's into politics because if you're into politics, you're into people or into persons. Any kind of personal or interpersonal relationship is politics. Any type. So if you or I, to the person that says, I am not, as in myself, Pastor Kofi, am not into politics because I don't vote. That's not true. I'm into politics because I'm into people. I'm into persons. I'm into relationship. Any relationship that I have is political. There's some person that say, "Oh, Pastor Kofi, the way that you talk to persons, you're very political." Well, yeah, I deal with persons. I deal with people. Now, I'm not trying to be manipulative within politics. So that's why I can't be part of a party because I'm in the kingdom. And for me to say, all right, I'm going to leave the kingdom to vote for Republican or Democrat, it means that I am manipulative because I serve Yah. Yah is my king. Why would I have anybody else that I have to represent? Right? So I'm not against certain things, but I can't be against the kingdom. And let me try and explain that. When I'm saying that, right, let me try and explain what I'm talking about. Because that left on his face might not make sense, right? I get that. So when I'm saying that, when I'm saying what I just said, as far as I'm into politics, I'm into people, right? And I have to be careful, et cetera, what I was talking about. There may come a time, if so led, that we might have somebody who is a so-called politician, right wing, left wing, whatever, and might actually partner with them to some degree. Or might have somebody who's into politics and you know them in social media for politics, and maybe they speak on some stuff on a podcast, or we interview them, or we go on their stuff. Who knows, right? We have to be led, of course. But there will come times when that happens. We're kind of taking a break from it, but we'll be getting back into that stuff at some point, more carefully than what I have in the past. But we'll be getting back into some of that stuff. That being said, in all these things as far as politics, how you doing, Sister Sylvia? And all these things as far as politics and stuff, I want persons to recognize this, that it's not that I'm not political, it's that I'm in the kingdom politics. We even talked about that before. I forget what series or playlist that was. We talked about that before. I'm into kingdom politics. Right? You said you can't be against things that still need to be discussed or engaged in purposes for protecting. Yeah. So I'm in the kingdom politics. So if I represent the kingdom, I can never represent the Republican Party. If I represent the kingdom, I can never represent the Democratic Party. If I'm into the kingdom, I can never represent, right? I can present some things and represent some values that they may have that match kingdom. But if they don't match kingdom, I can't ever represent that, right? I am a politician for Christ. Now, in our politics, though, I don't need to be voted in. My goal is to make sure that Christ is not voted in, but that Christ is always pointed to, because he can't lose his throne. Right? You see the difference? Right? So in racism, white supremacy, you're so all over the place with this stuff. And watch this. You'll see your pulpits are filled with persons preaching politics and stuff like that every 4 years or so, every 6 years, every 2 years, whatever the case might be. How you doing, Sister Ted? You'll see all these different things going on. And you got to recognize and realize with the quickness that they're change. What happens is these persons change their politics. That's the problem, right? One of the things that happened, and I'm not big into, I don't vote, so I don't care. But, at least to a certain degree, I don't care. I care about your mindset and your emotional status regarding the stuff that just happened. But I don't really care about who gets voted in because they work for the same reason and same persons, right? That being said, one of the reasons why Kamala lost and why a bunch of Democrats lost when they were running, if you notice, is they changed their politics. If we be honest, they changed politics. Can we just have honest conversation? Kamala went from no guns to, oh yeah, I got that thing for you. Where'd that come from? Cats that were Democrats, right? We're talking about closing the border off like everybody else. And when persons see that you won't even stand up for what you say is supposed to be righteousness, and they're like, what we listening to you for? Right? That's on them. Right? They were lying to the American public. So a lot of persons said, well, shoot, if you lying to us, then we're not trying to vote you in. And everybody just automatically went to the first place. The only place that everybody goes to is, oh, because she was black, or for those of you who don't want to hear that, okay, she looks black or blah, blah, she Indian, or she a woman. But no, like, if you a liar, you a liar. Y'all remember Hillary Clinton when she ran? Obviously, there's some stuff that they anti-woman, but let's be honest, Hillary Clinton was up there playing cats. Talking about, oh yeah, I carry hot sauce in my purse. What? Come on now. Come on now. What, like, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who was voting had to be like, who you think you talking to? That was a blatant slap in the face, right? Now, I'm not saying Trump is perfect. He's definitely far from it. Far, far from it, if you want to go there, right? I'm not going to attack the man, person just to make my point today. But I'm just trying to tell you, you can't be sitting up here saying some wild stuff. Remember, her husband was on there and person started calling both of them out for how they called the super predators? And Bill Clinton freaked out and snapped. He snapped, right? He flaked out on us and started saying, y'all should have just been happy. I did what I had to do. And all those criminals and blah, blah. He's talking about you. Talking about your aunties and uncles and stuff that they threw in prison and took away their habeas corpus. That's unconstitutional. Yeah, they playing us. So I'm just saying, like, you got to be careful, right, with politics, kingdom politics, because kingdom politics don't change. See, that's one thing I love. Since the Most High is always on the throne, since Yahweh is always on the throne, since Yahashua is always on the throne, the Ravak HaKodesh is always leading us from the throne, right? Elohim leading us from the throne. Since he sits on the throne and he never comes off it, then what happens? That means that the one who sits on the throne and is always on the throne, who's always king, that means I don't have to change my political affiliation. That's why his word doesn't have to change. His constitution doesn't have to change. What he said yesterday is what he means today. And what he said today is what he means tomorrow. And what he says tomorrow is what he said yesterday. That's why heaven and earth will pass away. But the word of the king, who doesn't have to be voted in, shall never change. That's right, never change. Okay, amen. Let's keep on moving. Let's keep on moving. We're running out of time. We got to make sure we get ready for the podcast today. Praise y'all. Amen. Shalom. Shalom. Shabbat shalom to everybody coming on. If I missed you on any platforms, by the way. All right, area number 7. This is a tough one. We talked about this a lot yesterday. I don't have as much time as I really want to go in on this, but we're just gonna touch on this again. Area 7 is religion. Yes, racism, white supremacy touches in religion. We talked about that already, so I won't go deep into some of this, but let's just go religion, which means the sum total of everything that a person thinks. Remember, because religion doesn't just mean what you're thinking about just as far as spirituality, what you religiously do. So the sum total of everything that a person thinks, plus everything that he or she says, plus everything that he or she does. Okay? So a religion includes all parts of a person's existence. Each and every minute of each and every day, even if those parts are never put into words, right? 93% of your communication is nonverbal. So even if it's not put into words, they are still a part of a person's religion if that person willfully and deliberately speaks and acts according to those parts. Religion is not separate from existence, nor separate from any part of existence. Anything that a person says or does that is willful and deliberate is a part of that person's religion. Which means that if somebody religiously or somebody purposefully, systematically, right, puts something like racism, white supremacy into place, by definition, it is religion. Oh, that's tough. Oh, that's tough. I know that one's tough. Somebody ain't like that one. But yeah, racism, white supremacy is a religion, because religion doesn't mean you go to church for it. Religion doesn't mean you need a mosque to mask your intent. Religion doesn't mean that you have to have temples. Religion doesn't mean you need to have an idol made by human hands. How you doing, Minister Select Raj? Right? Religion is what you do repetitively as a group. How you doing, Sister Omika? So this is why we have to be careful. When a person say, I have no religion, somebody who has no religion, I mean, if you honestly have no religion, it means you have no order. And somebody else is declaring your religion. How you doing, Brother Rodney? Be careful for persons who are non-religious, because that means somebody guides them anyways. Now, you're guided regardless, right? But racism, white supremacy is a religion by definition, right? That's why Jesus is more important than Yahushua in racism, white supremacy. Right? That's why George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, John Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, etc., all of them get excused for owning slaves. That's why you look past Abraham Lincoln owning slaves. That's why you look past Ulysses S. Grant owning slaves. That's why you look past Teddy Roosevelt telling you straight up that he would off every Native American that he can. Right? That's why you look past Bill Clinton literally making sure that persons in Haiti can't grow their own food and have to get rice that's falling apart and that's disgusting that makes persons sick from Arkansas so that his person can get paid. You'll look past all that because in your mind, that's how it's supposed to be. It's a religion. That's why you gotta realize you're in a system of oppression. This is a beastly system. It's designed to keep you and I away from loving each other the way that we were called to before the foundation of the world. Racism, white supremacy is religion. Right, exactly. That's why if you want to take over a country, what do? You send your missionary over first. You send them over with not by themselves like in the movies. They don't just show up on a canoe or something like that out in the middle of the ocean somewhere, or they just send them on a little boat off the ship. No, no, no. You send them with warriors. You send in, and they're missionaries. A missionary carries a mission. If I'm on a mission, if I'm a missionary, if I'm in my missionary bag going somewhere, I'm carrying out a mission. I'm in submission to the mission that I've been told to carry out. And I've got to be more in submission than the ones that I'm going to teach. As the master of it, as the teacher of it, I got to make sure that I'm more involved because the students, the disciples who I'm trying to make, right? A wise man makes disciples. If I'm trying to create disciples, these disciples, they got to be trained to follow me as I follow whatever I say the mission is. My mission is to get you to follow Yahashua as I follow him. So if you follow me, you should be following him. But that's not the mission of every missionary. Not all missionaries are created equal, right? There's a missionary that wants you to go ahead and be comfortable with making sure that you can go ahead and go to Amsterdam and do all types of unmentionable stuff. They're on a mission. There are many persons that are sent by the Satan. We keep acting like all missionaries are created equal. There's many missionaries sent by the Satan. Mm-hmm. There's many. He has missionaries too. He has persons that he sends on a mission. I know you don't want to hear that. Show me the scripture. Have you ever seen somebody that's been sent of the devil? If you have this, they carry his mission. I know. That's tough. It's rough. But it's true, right? Racism, white supremacy has missionaries. Matter of fact, not all skin folk is kin folk. Some of their best missionaries, they look like you. How you doing, babe? My wife is on the Honorable Almonds. Always check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest. Love you, babe. Right? Some of the best missionaries that are sent to get you, they got to look like you. Do you hear what I'm saying? Right? FBI, CIA has some of the best missionaries, and they make sure that they fit in. They look like you. I know, that's rough. It's true, though. Sisters. How do you get sisters to be against men? You get Gloria Steinem to come, and she's a woman, right? She deals with a 16-year-old girl who's going through rough stuff because all black men are just like white men. She gets her to write a book about it. Next thing you know, she's a missionary. Come to find out, she's married. Come to find out, she's a CIA informant. She was a missionary. She was sent on a mission. She's lived her life under this mission. She's been paid well and been protected. She's a missionary. I know you don't want to hear this. Billy Graham, he's a missionary. He was sent in to do things against your culture. Oral Roberts, he's a missionary. He was sent in to do things against your culture. Jesse Jackson. I know some persons don't want, but he was a missionary, sent in. CIA informative. FBI operative. Don't be suspicious. He's suspicious. He's sus. Who's the one that's James Brown's godson or whatever? Used to be bigger now. Al Sharpton. FBI informative. CIA operative, if you will. He's a missionary. Whenever you saw him show up, know that racism, white supremacy was showing up. How you doing, Sister Jessica? It's a religion. Something that persons religiously do all day, every day, right? Gatekeepers, however you want to describe it, right? Boule, part of the Illuminati, et cetera, whatever title you want to give, they don't work for you. Oprah Winfrey, she's a missionary, right? She comes after you, especially your men, her men. Doesn't consider them to be that, but comes after them, right? And at the same time, she'll have persons like the cat who was down in South America, who was literally, forgive my language, but was literally putting his sperm in water bottles, impregnating women, but putting his sperm in water bottles and having persons drinking it, talking about it was the seed or the word of Yah. I didn't even put Yah in there, the word of God, because they worship something different. And she ain't said nothing about it. She supported him and helped everything come into being. She's a missionary. Right? That's tip of the iceberg stuff. Person don't even think about that stuff because there's so much stuff. But just she went with The Rock. The Rock and her got all this money, billions. They could literally pay everybody's bills for years and years and years to come. And they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna put a couple $100 in there, just like you guys, and we hope you guys follow suit." She's a missionary. That's not gonna help nothing. They're the same persons that are taking over are gonna continue to take over, and they being part of some charity to where they're on the board and they're gonna get some kind of payment out of it. That's why they own it. That's why they're doing what they're doing. So racism, white supremacy is a religion. And just like the Most High has missionaries, so does the devil. And racism, white supremacy, they have missionaries as well. All right, next one. Let's keep it going. Let's go on to the next one. Praise Yah. Let's go ahead. We got to get ready to take our leave. Next one up. That next area is sex. Sex, which means any socio-material interrelationship between male and female. So he's saying don't just think about the sex physically in the bedroom, but think about everything that leads up to the sex. Now, for us, this is pretty simple because sex is marriage, marriage is sex. If we just stated that, if we followed the law, we really wouldn't have some of the issues that the world has, right? But racism, white supremacy is trying to get you into being some stuff. So I would suggest bare minimum, no matter what the color of the person is that you're getting with, you better make sure that they're not into racism, racism, white supremacy as a standard, right? We don't want to call persons out, and we're afraid to ask certain questions. But you need to know certain things. Like I said, we only talk about white. I'm talking about culture, right? Even this book, Neely Fuller Jr. said he's not talking about just white. He's talking about culture, right? Okay, so we're talking about culture. Let's be very clear. If we're talking about culture, once again, let us be very clear. If we are talking about culture, let us be very clear. You can have a black man who's into racism, white supremacy, and still treats you from that prism. See any red pillar. I don't think I have to go any further than that, right? You could have a black woman and she be into racism, white supremacy, and be sitting up there, right, talking about, I don't want to help a man build, I want a finished product. But then get with a so-called white man and say that I'll help you build. Because of the color of your skin, I know in this system, right, that you're gonna have a better chance to get to that supremacist level than my brother would. So I'm not gonna deal with the brother. I'm gonna deal with you. That's racism, white supremacy. Even if you don't want to call it that, sorry, YouTube. Even if we don't want to get into it like that or call it that, right? That's the truth, right? But let's not also. That being said, we're gonna be real on the other end. Check yourself, right? Because you can have a white person that would be down for you too, but you can have a white person, you got to ask certain questions. Because let's be honest, we talking about culture, not just color of your skin, but we might have to ask some questions dealing with racism, white supremacy. Because real talk, if stuff goes down and you got to choose between the so-called white side in this oppressive system and the so-called black side in this oppressive system, how you rolling, right? Right. We're in Miami for a little bit before we went, we came in and out of Miami. So we were in Miami a few days, outside of, the little bit of time in between when we were on the ship and we were in the Bahamas. And when we were in Miami, you reminded real quick, Yeah, everybody just about down there in certain, especially places that we were in. Everybody just about down there is Cuban, right? There's Jewish folk walking around that really own most of the stuff, and then you got Cubans and stuff like that. But Cubans, a lot of them think that they white by that by this racism, white supremacy religion. A lot of them been taught that they're white, and when they come over from Cuba, there's levels. They got racism over there, and so when you have persons over there who come over, right, you'll find out a lot of them are. Matter of fact, if we be honest, the guy who was in charge of the Proud Boys came out not that long ago that he was Cuban. I'm not trying to say all Cubans, by the way, right? But I'm trying to tell you that racism, white supremacy is not only based off of black or white. It's a mindset. It's a system. Therefore, a system of thought. And remember, economics has to deal with even how you think. This is why, remember, you learn one or you get one area together, you can learn all. Remember what we said about education, or what was said in the book about education? How you doing, show? Right, that education is about learning everything, all things about all things, or all things about one thing. Right? You educate yourself properly, right? Yeah, Dominicans, AT, stuff like that. Yeah, colorism rampant, right? Went down to the Bahamas. There was a woman that was dealing with me, and I already kind of knew what time it was because she's dealing with me because persons that look like me ain't supposed to have no say so. Right? It's a colorism thing. Like we still dealing with that, but anyway. All right, let's go to the last thing. We done. We got to get ready for the podcast, and we'll make sure we explain that. If you've never been with us for the podcast before, we'll explain that during the shout out and everything. Area 9, area number 9, area 9. And by the way, tomorrow's Q&A. So if you have questions, comments, or concerns about different things, you can feel free to go ahead and and make sure you have those together for tomorrow. Appreciate love you for that. All right, area 9, war, war. We forget that wars are not run by you. You even when you see in wars from one group against another group of the same color, whatever, they're getting their weapons from somebody. Every war is funded. Every war is funded. And supposedly, if we so poor that we can't fund food, how are we gonna feed persons during war? How are we gonna make sure we get bullets and weapons? And supposedly we can't make any bullets or any weapons. All right. So war, right? Through the prism of racism, white supremacy, war, which means any willful and deliberate unjust speech and or action that is used effectively against any creature. In other words, we're not just going to talk about war just as far as bang bang shooting them up, right? Be ready to go, this and that, whatever. We're not talking about just from that perspective, right? We're not just talking about just from that perspective. We're talking about going to war. A lot of war happens with us talking against each other the way that we do. Right? A lot of us are at war against each other, man versus woman. That's a war within ourselves. A lot of us are at war with each other. A lot of us are at war. First thing you do before you go to war, by the way, you have to even down persons with your tongue. For those of you who are not familiar, King Leopold, there's three of them technically. There's the first, the second, and the third. The second is the one that did the most damage in what's called today the Congo or Republic of Congo. Um, King Leopold II, before he got his army together to go in there and start getting rubber from the trees and stuff, that's what they did there before they started doing all types of crazy things. I mean, chopping, children's hands off and stuff because they didn't pick rubber fast enough, doing stuff like obviously what they do to the women, having so many persons hanging from stuff that was like reminiscent of clotheslines. That person said that when they saw bodies and stuff on those lines, they said they thought it was clothes sometimes. And persons would literally start putting it on the same level as when you dry your clothes. It almost became that normal to see them cutting off body parts and wearing them, stuff like that. But first thing, before you can get a person who isn't even of that culture to do that to somebody else, the first thing you do is you have to teach them they're not human. So all those soldiers were soldiers of Belgium. And what they had to do is they had to send all those soldiers basically back to boot camp and start telling them, hey, start teaching them. They had to say, hey, we're going to send you to this place. And they're going to look like humans. They're going to talk. They're going to be able to even speak some of your language, right? Like a parrot would. They're going to be able to. They're going to look like they have standards and culture. But don't get tricked. They tell them straight up, don't you have to you. And then they started training the young ones up to do the same thing, and they would tell them, hey, these are not human beings, right? Don't they literally taught this. That's why I said you have to teach this even to those the white supremacists trying to get the money for themselves, right? Are teaching the white persons to get rid of their humanity or reintroduce what humanity is and lie about it, give you a half truth. There's always a whole lie, right? Yeah, they could be crushed like an insect. This is so it's okay to do whatever. They're there to serve us, and that's it. They're an animal. All this stuff, evolution. They got to pull all this stuff up to stop getting you to even have any sense of who the Most High is, a higher power, what they would call God. They eradicated all that. And so when you go to Belgium, to this day, right, you'll still see N-word heads being sold because they actually carry N-word heads and sometimes would even eat parts of them, or N-word fingers or N-word toes. Matter of fact, you go to Brazil, or if you ever had Brazil nuts, they call those, if you see Brazil nuts, they call them N-word toes because you cut the toes off of N-words off, and you might hang them around and sometimes even bite off them and stuff, trying to get blood and stuff because they come from they have a connection to a lot of cannibalism. As much as they want to talk about Native Americans and act like we are cannibals for some reason, they have a lot of connection with that because they believed in certain things. They would even eat parts of bodies that were discarded when they started doing surgeries back in the day. Like a lot of us don't know this stuff, right? But they would tell you like, yeah, they're just an animal, right? Don't trip off that. That's just an animal. So they taught them that. Then they sent them into Belgium. And once you told them that they're not dealing with humans, they're dealing with animals, even as foolish as it is. And even as some of them probably ignored it just because they wanted to see if they can get up in the ranks of racism, white supremacy. They had to be retaught though. That wasn't what they were living by. This whole weird thing that persons are taught that like no white person had ever seen a black person before until like a couple hundred years ago is foolishness. King James himself has African parents. What do you think that makes him? I always mess up her name. Babe, can you help me with the name again? King George's wife? I always try to call her Catherine, but Catherine is Russian. I always call her the wrong name. I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep doing that. Maybe because I learned about Catherine the Great first. And so every time I learn about, you said they sell them around Christmas time and we're heads. Yeah. And she's talking about, I think you're talking about in Switzerland. She was an exchange student. So she'll tell you from personal experience. But Charlotte, thank you. Charlotte, Queen Charlotte. Queen Charlotte, African. So this is weird. There's this weird thing that happens where we forget, where these persons come from. They actually come from, you know. But yeah, so but you have to teach somebody that you can't go to war and have the religion unless you have the religion of racism, white supremacy, unless you've been educated in it, unless you're entertained by it. It was entertaining for them to chop persons up. It was entertaining for them to go ahead and do what they did to your women. It was entertaining for them to have children that were running around looking like them and they were slaves. It was entertainment. This is racism, white supremacy. It's a system. It's a religion. You can hate it all you want, but there's truth to it. All right. Let's go ahead and read this last part. We're done after this. Praise y'all. We got to get ready for the podcast. All of the 9 major areas, this is a note, all of the 9 major areas, and what are the 9 major areas again that we went through? Hold on one second. Well, we'll just go ahead and read what it says. We got to get out of here. Or we got to get ready for the podcast. All of the 9 major areas of people activity are interrelated. What happens in one area of activity affects all other areas of activity. What a person does in the area of economics affects what the person does in the area of religion or sex or war, etc. The racists, right, who are the white supremacists. The white supremacists are the ones who you would call racist, not white people, but the white supremacists. The racists or white supremacists, by dominating their victims, non-white people, in one area of major activity, also at the same time dominate them in all areas of major activity. Did you catch that? That last part is key. So, in racism, white supremacy, remember, or just in general, when we talk about education is us saying that somebody needs to be educated in all things, or needs to be educated in all things concerning all things, or all things concerning one thing. Because if you're educated in one thing, it opens up in all things with one thing, you master one thing, it opens up the door to you to being anything that's connected to that one thing. You're educated in it. Well, the white supremacists, right, dominates their victims in all things. That's what you gotta learn about all things. They dominate their victims in all 9 major areas of activity. And when they do so, that means that by dominating one, they dominate all. If they dominate all, they dominate one. That's why you got to learn. Amen. All right. So thank y'all. Hopefully you got something out today. Tomorrow's going to be Q&A. So have those questions ready for us. We'll be ready tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We're going to go ahead and get ready to go into our podcast at the top of the hour in about 10 minutes or so. Right after that, at 11 a.m. Eastern New York time, Shabbat school is back on track. So we'll see the children for Shabbat school at 11 a.m. Eastern New York time. We'll have a quick SOC community meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern New York time. Just once again, giving some stuff out informationally. And at 6 p.m. Eastern New York time, we'll continue with our meetups for the 12 Myths of Christmas. I'll try to see if we can put something a little special together. It's going to be real quick. Excuse me for today. It's going to be real quick. And then after that, at 7 p.m. Eastern New York time, we're going to have something special for you guys like we did last month when we talked about lust. This time we're just going to kind of open it up for a bunch of quick questions about marriage and stuff, and just really for me to kind of get a gauge and submit some things to Elder Amma, so that we can kind of be prepared to start doing our second Saturday on marriage every second Saturday starting next year. So just look for that to be, once again, it's going to be in for the free member link. It'll be there on for free members of Patreon, or anybody who's a member of Patreon. You should be able to see it on Patreon before it's time for us to start there. And then yeah, I think that's all I have. So love you all to life. You guys take care. We're gonna do a shout out. I'm not gonna explain how the shout out works. Those of you who are part of SOC, y'all already know how the shout out works. So feel free to go ahead and let everybody you know let everybody in on what's going on and know what's going on with that, or just do what you do during the shout out. If you'd like to come over to TikTok from any platform you're on to join us for the shout out, feel free to do so. But we're going to go ahead and get ready for the shout out. Thank you guys for being on. Appreciate, love you. We hope that you're getting a lot of stuff out of this. We hope that you're continuing to grow. And thank you for spending some time with us as always. And we're excited and grateful and thankful again to have each and every one of you with us. So we're going to go ahead and take our leave. Thank you so much for being with us again. The podcast will start at 10 a.m. Eastern New York time, and we look forward to having everybody with us. So thank you again. We appreciate, love you. We honor you. We hope that you guys continue to do great, mighty, majestic things. And until we have the chance to be before you again, I'm sorry, excuse me. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Amma, who lives the life that is able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We love you all to life. You all take care. We'll see you guys soon. And remember, as always, family, that you are loved. You are necessary. You are majestic. You're fearfully, wonderfully made. And you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. If you want to join us for the podcast, look for the Podbean app. You can look through Linktree. You can look through the stuff that's in the description with the video. If you're on TikTok, just literally stay on the shout out while everybody's doing what they do in the shout out, and you'll see that the information will pop up there for you for the app that you need to get, and just join us at the top of the hour. All right, Shalom, family. Peace.